For more on President Obama's visit and what this means for the U.S. India relations, I'm joined now by Haiyan Wang, and she is a managing partner at the China-India Institute right here in Washington, D.C. Good to see you. Welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you, Susan.
Well, the U.S. is actually hoping to counterbalance China with this visit by bolstering ties with India. How closely do you feel like China will be watching this?
I think that China will be watching this development very closely, just as U.S. will be watching very closely where there is new development between China and India. I think that the viewpoint of counterbalancing, developing the U.S.-India relationship as a counterbalance to China, I see two sides. I see, of course, there is some reason for thinking of that way, but I also think that it is perhaps more constructive to think it as not a zero-sum game, meaning that the three superpowers can develop a healthy, strong relationships, and it's a triangular relationships. You know, the development between any two relationships doesn't have to come at the sacrifice, at the cost of the other relationships.
Haiyan, the IMF is predicting by 2016 that India's growth will actually outpace China. What's behind the reemergence of this global superpower?
I think that India's development in the coming decade could be entering a high growth stage. In the past, India was able to achieve 8%, slow down to 5 and 4%, but with Modi's government being very strong in pushing reform, attracting foreign capitals, and being with pro-business, pro-development as the key economic agenda, India could achieve a 6-7% growth. And India, let's think about it, it's coming from a very low per capita base. And its population is still growing at 30% annual rate in the coming decades. So you put a reform and put opening up, put the strong desire to lift poverty and all of that together, and the infrastructure investment, and a lot of it together, I think that the coming decade could be India's high growth decade.
India is accounting for about 5% of the world's carbon emissions. Obviously,
Yes.
we know what happened with
Yes.
the United States and China on reaching a deal here.
Yes.
Do you feel like the United States is closer to reaching a deal on carbon emissions? And also, what about the nuclear deal deadlock? That news is breaking now that they could be close to a deal there.
In terms of the carbon emission, given that India is the third largest country in carbon emission, getting India's commitment is very critical for later years, Paris talk on global climate change. However, I don't think that India is at the stage of China in terms of announcing a peak year in emission control, because India's stance is still that we're going to focus on clean energy, we're going to focus on renewable energy and energy efficiency. However, given that our per capita emission is still at a fraction of that of China's, and even smaller fractions of that of the U.S., that we are not able to commit to the same level of emission control. But I think that a strong commitment in terms of supporting the grand vision of climate control, that could be expected in an announcement. In terms of the civil nuclear, I think that on this trip, we might see some breakthrough in terms of making that 2008 Civil Nuclear Cooperation Act, making that a little bit more commercially operational, and break through the liability issue and the tracking of the materials issue, and to really bring some fruits to the new civil nuclear cooperation, and in that process benefiting a lot of the U.S. multinational corporations such as the GE and Westinghouse.
So you feel like they are close to that deal now, or it looked like recently they were not, but something has happened?
I think that since 2008, there have not been a lot of the movement on that front, and clearly Obama's team would like that to be more commercially operational, to finally to make more progress in terms of clearing out of the roadblocks in building nuclear power plants and finding ways to resolve the issues of liability issue on the reactor suppliers, perhaps through insurance schemes, perhaps compromise on the terms of tracking the nuclear materials.
Alrighty. Haiyan Wang, thank you so much. Great seeing you. We appreciate your time
and
your thoughts.
Thank you.